Okay, it is 6:30, and we want to welcome all of you out this evening to our meeting of the Murray City Municipal Council, and would invite all of you to turn off or silence your electronic devices if you would. We would appreciate that. This meeting is being streamed live on murraycitylive.com, and we welcome those who would be watching on the internet this evening as well. We'll begin with an opening ceremonies, and we have a number of scouts here this evening, and we'll have them introduce themselves in just a moment. But first, we will have their senior patrol leader, Cooper Varney, will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Or excuse me, not the senior patrol leader. He was asked by the senior patrol leader. Cooper, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
The audience, please rise. Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The audience may be seated.
Thank you, Cooper. We'll also note for the record that all council members are in attendance this evening, and Mayor Iyer is excused, and Tim Tingey is sitting in Mayor's place this evening, so welcome, Tim. We have no minutes this evening to approve, so we will go right into introduction of our Boy Scouts who are here. Again, welcome. Thanks for being here. I'd like you to have each of you stand and tell us your first name, what merit badge you're working on, what troop you're in, and then we'll also have the leaders stand and introduce themselves as well. Let's start back there in the back.
So I'm working on communications and citizenship in the community. I'm Rowan Morris, and 1487.
Okay, thank you. Next.
My name's Drew, and I'm working on several merit badges.
Okay.
My name is Cooper Varney, and I'm working on citizenship in the community and communications.
Thank you, Cooper.
I'm Dawson Tim, and I'm working on citizenship in the community and communications.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Jackson, and I am working on second class.
Okay, good.
Hi, my name is Easton Tim, and I am working on citizenship in the community and communication.
My name is Rusty Hughes, and I'm the senior patrol leader, and I'm working on communications.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Carson Huff, and I am working on first aid.
Thank you, Carson.
My name is Brennan, and I'm working on reading.
Citizenship in the
community.
Okay, thank you. Have the leaders, have you introduce yourself as well?
You're the leader.
I'll sit up. My name is Bryce McCluskey, Troop 1033. We appreciate you guys allowing us to be here tonight to participate in your council meeting and for their achievements and their hard work. So thank you.
Great, thank you.
I'm Chad Norton, Troop 1487. I'm not officially a leader. I'm just a father, supportive of the Boy Scouts. My name is Dean Dominguez.
You're dressed like a leader, and I tell you, if you're just a father, you're a leader. Thank you very much. Are there any other scouts here? Okay. All right. Thank you. We'll move on now then to 5.3, special recognition. Our Murray City Council Employee of the Month this evening is Matt Erkelins from the Forestry Division of the Power Department. we have Brett Hales and Blaine Hackey present. Blaine, I know you're here. Oh, there you are. Okay.
Come on up, Matt. Come on up, Matt. Well, as a council, Matt, we'd like to congratulate you for Employee of the Month. We started this program probably about 5 years ago, and Blaine will go ahead and he has submitted some information. But on the back of this, Blaine's going to read this first, but we've got a $50 gift card for you or for somebody else. I'm not sure who it'll go to, but and then present you with that certificate, Matt, and also we'll put your name back here on this on the what are they called? Thanks. I could not think the word plaque. I had to look up Bruce to tell me plaque. Thank you, Bruce. Anyway, we congratulate you as from a council and appreciate all you do. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Blaine.
Thanks, Brett. Thanks, Council. We do want to acknowledge Matt's efforts. Matt has been with us since December of 2014, and he's had two titles. One is Utility Arborist, and one is Forestry Supervisor. He was just recently named to be the Forestry Supervisor, which used to be called the City Forester. And if that were in layman's term, he's basically over every tree that grows in Murray City, putting a little pressure on him to keep him alive and green. He supervises 8 of our arborists. We have 8 utility arborists, and they are responsible for all the clearance of the trees in our wires to keep outages to a minimum, as well as other tasks they have. And some of these are often unnoted, but they are responsible for street tree maintenance. We have a program here in Murray City where the trees that are in the parking strips are maintained and in some places planted and cared for by our crews. A community service that I don't know of anywhere else, especially for the cost of them. Every spring we have a tree planting program that people in our city, including what we call the annexed area, can come and pay a nominal fee, I would say. It covers just a portion of the cost of a tree. And Brett Hales, as a council member, has praised the accolades of that program as he bought a tree this year. And it wasn't a small twig, was it, Brett?
Very surprised how large it was.
Yeah, and we planted those trees in his yard as well as any other citizen that will come and pay the nominal fee. So Matt supervises that, as well as the Arbor Day celebration, the beautification awards that we will bring back to you in a couple of weeks of people that have excelled in cleaning their yards, as well as the Christmas lighting presentation, the Santa Claus. We're involved with that along with the Parks Department. And one other thing. Most of the arborists are mainly responsible for placing the Christmas decorations on City Hall and on State Street and Vine Street during the Christmas celebration. So these are things that often are unnoted. Now, to tell you what the value of Matt's job is as a forestry supervisor, only 6% of the outages that Murray City had last year were caused by tree-related problems. And that was by number 13 outages last year. Entire 12-month period were caused by outages, which is just a little bit over 1 a month. And you consider all the trees in our city that could be in the power lines or whatever, or be susceptible to snowfall or wind. That's an amazingly small, low number that his guys are responsible for, and he deserves accolades for that, as well as our other arborists that work so hard for that. Finally, I wanted to mention that Matt was responsible recently for heading the Utah climbing competition, Utah Tree Climbing Competition, which is a regional competition that brings in people from all over the state. The best tree trimmers in the state and the region come to this, and it was held in Murray Park this past year, a month or so ago. And Matt was responsible for all the judging and all the setting up of the vendors, and it was an amazing large competition, and it was extremely successful because of Matt's efforts. And he worked many hours, not only on city time, but mostly on his own time to make sure that happened. Matt, you've been in competition with that before, right? Yes, and this time he wanted to be as a leader and work towards that competition. But we're proud that Matt has this award in such a short time. He's only been at this for 2.5 years, and he's proven his worth. he's proven his dedication and loyalty by being named a city forester so fast and so deservedly so. In our estimation, he's employee of the year, not the employee of the month. So with that, Matt Erklins, we're glad he's with us in our department. He is directly supervised by Bruce Turner, who's here with us. And Matt has great support from his arborist, and that goes to say a lot for our employees. So with that, thank you, Council, for honoring Matt. We'd like to invite Matt, after a round of applause, to introduce his wife.
My wife, Nicole Erklins, over here. Thanks for your time.
Matt, thank you so much and congratulations. We get a lot of, as members of the city council, we get a lot of complaints, we get a lot of compliments. One of the things that we get compliments on so much is on our tree trimming and tree care and our arborist division. So thank you for being a big part of that. We really do appreciate it. And Bruce, recognize your efforts there too. Any other comments from the council?
No, I agree. I mean, I've received some wonderful compliments, and I take them, even though I'm not the arborist, but you represent our city in us, and we really do appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll now move on to item 6, citizen comments. We do have a public hearing this evening for a budget opening. If you're here to comment on that, we ask you to wait for the public hearing. But invite any who would like to speak on any other matter to, if you would like to speak, now would be the time. You have 3 minutes. I want to remind you that any item that is not on the agenda cannot have formal action taken, but we will listen to what you have to say. Yes, sir. Please state your name, address for the record.
Hi, my home address? Yeah?
Or just city of residence is fine.
My name is Jake Brown. I'm a citizen of Murray. I live on Greenwood Drive, which is it's a pretty secluded street just west of I-15 between 5900 South and 5987. And past couple years, a few of our street lights have been taken out, and I for some reason have attributed the rise in robberies and car break-ins to our lights being taken out. A few weeks ago, I came home late, about 1 in the morning, and my neighbor walked down 2 doors down from me and told me there was a guy had just barely come through and rifled through all of our neighbors' cars. And I waited for the police to arrive to have a word with them, and of course my neighbor was there to give a rough description of the guy. And I said to the cop, it'd be great if we hadn't had our street lights removed. They're, falling into incredible disrepair, and instead of replacing them, they took the lights out and they installed, I guess, some of them served as our neighbors, power meters. So instead of replacing the lights, they just put in a meter. And now we've got dark spots, every 2 or 3 houses down our street. And I said to the cop, it'd be great if we had some lights on our street. It might deter the crime because we're easy prey with there being no light on the street. And he goes, well, that's probably not going to, help with the crime. And I go, well, Mr. Franco here probably would have been able to identify the suspect had he had a better view of him. So I just wanted to call that to your attention and see if there was any solution you could offer us in that part of the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you for your comments. You picked a good night to be here with the Power Department General Manager here, and I'm sure he heard your comments. Yes, Mr. Anderson.
My name is Noel Anderson. I've lived in Murray for 84 years. I'm going to tell you a little story. When I was raised in Murray, there was no businesses from the railroad tracks west of 53rd South. I worked for all the farmers there as a young boy, threshing, sugar beets, thinning, cutting. Worked on all those farms down there. I hunted pheasants on all those farms. I hunted ducks on the Jordan River, sometimes out of season, but I done it. We have a problem now in Murray. All that time when I was working on those fields and that, never, ever, swimming in the Jordan River, ever did I see a skunk. I have killed 6 skunks in my backyard last year and 3 so far this year. Animal control last year told me that they had killed 32 skunks from Stauffer Lane to 53rd South on the west side. Now my house is 50 yards from the seminary, 25 yards from Murray parking lot. My yard is all in fenced. It's all in grass and gardens. We had 35 women from the ward over there last Thursday, for a party they have every year. The night after that, we had 18 from the hospital for a party with the people I work with at the hospital. I have to live in fear that one of my grandkids or somebody else is going to run onto a skunk. Now, 2 weeks ago, I was planning on going to Hannah to visit with my daughter. In the morning before I left, I went out to close my tool shed in the backyard by the garden, and there's a skunk. Had its head in against the fence. I thought the thing was sleeping. So I took a stick, went to rap it in the head, and then it realized it was me. You ever been squirted by a skunk? There was 2 liquid sprays come out. I ducked them, but I didn't duck the mist. I had to go in, shower. My clothes were washed 3 or 4 times. I thought I'd beat the smell. I got up to Hannah. My daughter stuck her head in the truck and says, "I smell skunk." Now the problem is there's been about 8 or 9 killed so far this year. The problem, according to the animal control, is the fact that we have a couple living on Spurrier and Wilson at the end that feed 35 feral cats outside. Now, you all heard on television last year about the poor guy from Murray that threw some kittens in the garbage can. Well, he lives next door to this woman that feeds 35 feral cats. How would you feel? Skunks are very rabid. Very rabid. They carry the disease. How would it be to have one of my great-grandkids or one of my grandkids or one of my neighbors bit by a skunk? It's bad enough to get sprayed by them. Murray needs to clamp down on these people that are feeding these cats outside that don't belong to them. They're feral cats. Murray's going to get a black eye one of these days if some little kid gets bit by a rabid skunk and it gets in the newspaper and it gets on television. I have a friend that lives on 3rd West and about 48 South. Told me that he's killed 7 so far this year. The animal control says they're coming up from the Jordan River, which used to be sacred ground for them, but now with all the building down there, they're looking for something else. And he claims that they can smell this cat food from miles away. So I'm here to ask Murray City to do something about clamping down. I don't know how unless you want to hire a skunk killer to go out and kill skunks, to clamp down on these people that are feeding feral cats outside. My time's up, I've gone over, but I think Murray City has to do something to help us out. I'm scared to death to even have my grandkids or my great-grandkids in my yard, and my yard is all fenced. They dig underneath the fence. Neighbors say almost every night, a neighbor tells me, "I smelt skunks last night." If you want to test it out, come on down. I'll see if I can't get one of them to spray you one time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. I'll take your word for it. We'll assume the statute of limitations has run out on your hunting out of season too. So, thank you. Are there others who would like to speak this evening? Okay, seeing none, yes.
My My name is Beverly Krangle. I live up on Vine Street. And I had this flyer attached to a rubber band and put on my door about a notice of widening Vine Street. And so they had an open house on August 16th, and they had maps where they plan to widen between 9th and 13th, and then Phase 1, and then 13th up to Highland Drive, Phase 2. And my understanding is we really don't have that heavy a traffic that would require our tax dollars to spend more money to remove sidewalks and then put new sidewalks in. We're still trying to just get original sidewalks, by the way. And now that was August 16th, and they're saying that responses need to be submitted by midnight tomorrow night. Well, I've talked to several homeowners that they own property, they never did get a notice, and yet there's only 9 days or something to between when the open house was telling about information. And I talked to one homeowner, and she said, the bottom email on this flyer doesn't even work. And I tried to call Rick Black today a couple times, and he didn't answer all day long. But I don't believe that this date of August 23rd should be any hard and fast rule about when responses need to be submitted, especially when people didn't get formal notice that own property in the area. So I'd like to know what the significance of August 23rd is. And also, if my understanding is that the original plan was done 25 years ago, and that was before we had the freeway, which is only 4 or 5 blocks away from us, which can take the bulk of the traffic that want to go fast. And we have 35 miles an hour on our road, where just down from 13th West and most other places in Murray, it's 30 miles an hour. So people are already going 40 and 45 miles an hour. We don't need more speed and more cars on that street. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Krangle. Are there any others? Yes.
So just on this thing is that studies definitely show that when you widen a road, people go faster. So I do kind of wonder about that issue. The minute you widen any road, the traffic goes faster. So that's an issue.
That was Kathleen. Oh, you okay? All right. Thank you. Okay. Any others? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close a citizen comment then, and we will move to the next item on the agenda. We have no consent agenda this evening, so we will move to item 8.1, public hearing to consider an ordinance amending Murray City's fiscal year 2017-2018 budget. Denise Steck will be presenting. Denise?
So you all have been given the budget amendment ordinance and detail in your packet, as well as having been met with in the committee of the whole, as well as individually, to go over this budget amendment. The budget amendment is for $18.1 million. However, about $17.1 million of it is capital projects that were ongoing as the fiscal year ended. So because we just begin building about the time that the budget ends, we need to carry them forward. So 95% of this budget is carry forward of projects that are in progress already. And then the remaining new requests we'll go over just really briefly, if you don't mind. In the general fund, we'll be removing some wages and benefits that were duplicated in the budget. We'll be adding a plans examiner. We'll be accepting and allocating the Victims Advocate Grant, which will staff victims advocates and volunteer coordinators in the police department. We will be doing some property acquisition in downtown development and paying out a performance agreement for low-income housing in the Fire Clay area of the redevelopment agency. We'll be receiving a Transportation Alternative Program grant from the federal government through Utah Transit Authority for the Canal Trail and $100,000 and allocating that out to that project. We'll be doing some maintenance and clearing in the downtown area. We will have some change orders on the amphitheater for landscaping. We have a small amount of residual left for property acquisition on the Murray Mansion. And we will correct some interest income that was budgeted incorrectly in the original budget that was given to you. We're also asking for pole and fence replacement on the driving range. The rest of them are all carry forward projects that were approved in the prior year budget. Does the council have any questions or comments regarding the budget amendment that I can answer?
Any questions of Denise before we open the public hearing?
Not yet.
Okay, not yet.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, yeah, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing on this matter then. Is there anyone who would like to speak to this matter? Yes, Beverly.
What do the letters TAP stand for? Okay, so my understanding is that the canal trail that is proposed that will go from Wheeler Farm going east up through and behind on the canal behind Cottonwood Presbyterian Church, then going across the street to the north on the west side of Village 3, and then over to Fontainebleau. The grant is not supposed to just be out for just a trail, just for pleasure. My understanding, it was supposed to enhance the ability for people to get to the light rail. So for transportation enhancement, this doesn't sound to me, and to spend $1 million on a trail that only goes a few blocks, and it crosses two busy streets, and one of them being 13th East, which you have a stoplight on 6100 South, you have a stoplight on 6400 South, you have a stoplight at 6600 South. And we're going to add another stop in those few blocks on a busy 5 o'clock traffic for 13th East. That doesn't make any sense at all. And it has nothing to do with traffic enhancement when you're talking about a trail that doesn't go really anywhere to any light rail. It's totally misuse of funds. If it were to enhance people getting to light rail, I can see that. But this doesn't go anywhere, it doesn't do anything, and it will create more, I believe, vandalism in the area. It's not going to be fully lighted back there. So given the earlier comment about lack of lighting, guess what we're going to have? More vandalism. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Beverly. Are there any others that would like to speak? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing then and bring it back to the council for discussion and or action.
Yeah, I'd like to, I know that some questions did come up on the canal trail. And it was suggested that when we make the motion, we pull 10, 11, and 21 related to that.
I think that makes sense. I would agree with that.
I would concur with that as well.
Is that a motion?
I will make the motion then that we adopt an ordinance amending Murray City's fiscal year 2017-2018 budget, but removing line items 10, 11, and 21 relating to the canal trail until we can look into that further.
I'd second that.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Brass and a second by Mr. Nikponski. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Jennifer, will you call for the vote?
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes unanimous. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Denise. We have no unfinished business this evening, so we'll move to item 10, new business. We'll start with 10.1, which is to consider a resolution approving an interlocal cooperation agreement between the city and Salt Lake County for receipt by the city of funds to purchase naloxone kits and related training. Chief Burnett, are you presenting?
Yes, we were approached by this district attorney's office, and they offered to assist us in funding naloxone, or which is also known as Narcan, kits for our first responders, for the police department, and some for the fire department. So we just want to enter into this agreement so that they will be able to give us the funds. We've already gone through the training, and we're well on our way with this program, which, considering the opioid epidemic we have, it's kind of a high priority. I think that our first responders are able to help our citizens with issues that they may have, and it's a great program. So this just allows, this agreement allows the district attorney to give us money to purchase those.
Is that an injection?
No, it's a mist.
A mist?
Just a little. There are ones that are injection, but that's not what we're carrying. The ones that our officers will carry, they can carry them in their pockets, just like a little nasal spray. If somebody looks like they meet the criteria that are in distress from an opioid overdose, they just give that to them through the mist in the nose, and it's amazing what it can do.
I noticed them on billboards. They advertise naloxone. Can anyone own it then?
Yes, it's very easy for people to get it. It's one of those things that I know they're trying to get out to family and friends, because too often people are dying from overdoses when somebody who's there or close by could help them and bring them back. And you know, you never know which one you might be able to save and get off drugs and help improve their life.
It's a great new asset.
Thank you. Any other questions for Chief Burnett? Okay. Then I will entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to adopt the resolution approving an interlocal cooperation agreement between the city and Salt Lake County for receipt by the city of funds to purchase naloxone kits and related training.
I'll second that.
Okay. Motion by Ms. Turner and a second by Mr. Hales. Any discussion on the motion?
Just one, thanks to the district attorney's office for making these available.
Yeah. Great. Okay. We'll call for a vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes unanimous. Item 10.2 then is to consider a resolution approving an interlocal cooperation agreement between the city and the state of Utah Department of Heritage and Arts for receipt of grant funds for local arts organizations and museums. And Danny Astle will be presenting. Danny.
Thank you. Tonight, what this is, basically in front of you is just an interlocal agreement between the state of Utah and Murray City to augment the funds, to receive the funds, $11,000 to come to the Heritage and Arts for the city. And it's a great program, and we appreciate the opportunity to take this money. So that's what's before you.
We'll take it, huh?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Danny?
Oh, sounds good.
Good.
We appreciate the work that Mary Ann does too, and
Oh, yeah.
her staff to
She's been
get
good
these
at it.
grants.
Thanks.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we adopt a resolution approving an interlocal cooperation agreement between the city and the state of Utah Department of Heritage and Arts for receipt of grant funds for local and organizations and museums, local arts organizations and museums.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Naponsky. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Turner. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, call for a vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes unanimous. Item 10.3 is a resolution approving an interlocal cooperation agreement between Murray City, Bluffdale City, Draper, Sandy, South Jordan, South Salt Lake, West Jordan, and West Valley City for the formation of a Metro Fire Agency. Frank?
Chief Rodriguez will
Rodriguez?
handle that.
Okay, Chief.
Okay, this was brought to you several meetings ago, and we pulled it off the agenda only because
some of the attorneys wanted to take a closer look at it. So we're bringing it back today, and it's just asking for approval of the interlocal agreement with the Metro Fire Agency. The one we added was Draper City, who was just formed this past year. Any questions?
It's the fire department that was formed, not the city, right?
Yeah, it's the fire department.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know, the city might think.
Okay. Any questions of Chief Rodriguez or of Frank? Okay.
I'll make a motion. I'll move that we approve an interlocal cooperation agreement between Murray City, Bluffdale City, Draper City, Sandy City South, Jordan City South, Salt Lake City, West Jordan City, and West Valley City for the formation of a Metro Fire Agency.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Hales and second by Ms. Turner. Just a comment on this is I sit on the Board of Trustees for the Metro Fire Agency, and so I definitely support this this effort that's going on, the cooperation effort, and it's done at very little, if any, expense out of the ordinary operating expenses, and with it really improves efficiency in our cooperation with these other departments. So just wanted to throw that in there. Any discussion on the motion? Any further discussion? Call for vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes unanimous. Item 10.5 is to consider, Item 10.4 will be to consider an ordinance amending chapters 12.04, 12.08, 12.12, 12.16, 12.20, 24, 28, and 32 of the Murray City Municipal Code relating to streets, sidewalks, and public places. Frank?
Yes, this is an issue that we just discussed in the Committee of the Whole meeting, also a public meeting. This is part of the process of our office, the Attorney's Office, in updating our code, making some technical changes. There are some substantive changes to it. And this, of course, relates to streets, sidewalks, and public places. We did discuss that we were changing and having the mayor, setting the fees on some of these administrative processes. And I think there was some discussion regarding the separation of powers and ensuring that that was maybe done properly. And although if we do approve these, having the mayor set the fees, we will probably prepare an inventory of now the fees that are established by the mayor and those that are established by the council, and maybe revisit this issue of whether it should be appropriate for the council or the mayor to set. But that's one of the changes we made as part of the administrative processes that are done by the city engineer, public services department, that those fees are established by the mayor. The substantive changes had to do with just updating, particularly as it relates to parks and what happens in parks, and the violations of the code, whether that be a Class C misdemeanor or infractions or Class B misdemeanor. We did deal with the fireworks, which has been an issue this year, to comply with the existing law, although we do anticipate that maybe the legislature will revisit this matter and that may change. Other than that, the financial standards that were established with the golf course, we deleted those because they weren't applicable. That is not the way it is being currently done. Other than that, those are the substantive changes. Most of it, again, is technical, and just trying to bring some consistency to the code. Any questions?
I'm just wondering if, in order to revisit it, do we have to put that in the motion regarding the fees, or
No.
do we just do that?
Yeah, I
How
think
does
we
that
just,
work?
we'll just do that. I don't know how much time it will take to prepare that inventory, but it is something that we've had throughout the code. So the certain administrative fees throughout the code are, and have been throughout the years, established by the mayor. But I think it would be appropriate to identify those, of course, utility fees, major fees that have budgetary impact are decided by the council. So I don't think that's necessary to put in the motion, but I'm just committing to you that our office will go ahead and do that inventory and then bring them back to the council.
Great, that's good enough for me.
Hey, thank you. Any other questions for Frank?
Okay, with that, I'll make a motion to adopt an ordinance amending chapters 12.04, 12.08, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, and 32 of the Murray City Municipal Code relating to streets, sidewalks, and public places.
And 12. You missed 12.
Oh, 12.
Oh, can I just add, there also, we had mentioned Winchester Park twice as we were identifying the parks.
Oh, yes, that's right.
And Councilmember Camp had pointed out
Yes.
that we had actually duplicated that, so
With
we
the elimination
we need to do
of
that
the-
fix, yes.
Right, with the elimination of the park. That
I'll
was a good
second.
call.
Okay. Do we need to restate the motion, or are we good? I'm just kidding.
That
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, motion by Ms. Turner and a second by Mr. Brass. Any discussion on the motion? Jennifer?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye. Okay, the motion passes unanimous. Okay, item 10.5 then is to consider an ordinance amending chapters 15.4, 8, 10, 12, 16, 24, 28, and 32 of the Murray City Municipal Code relating to buildings and construction. Frank?
Yes, again, the same issues. This was discussed in Committee of the Whole, a public meeting in detail. The issue of fees also came up, and of course, we will do the same thing in this title as we will all others in regards to identifying those that the administration sets and those that the council sets. Again, most of it is technical, bringing some consistency throughout the code. The main substantive change in this amendment has to do with Fit Premises Act. We had to conform our city ordinances with the state law. What that does is bring more clarity to the Fit Premises laws, give our code enforcement officers maybe more tools in which to enforce some of the Fit Premises laws. I also think that it sets standards for any civil cases that are brought, that they use our Fit Premises Act. But it follows the state law on the Fit Premises Act. But that's the major change.
Any questions?
Questions?
Thank you, Frank.
Well, then I will move that we adopt the ordinance amending chapters 15, 4, 8, 10, 12, 16, 24, 28, and 32 of the Murray City Municipal Code relating to buildings and construction.
Good job, you got them all.
I'll second that.
Okay, the motion was made by Mr. Brass and seconded by Mr. Hales. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, we'll call for a vote. Jennifer?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye. Motion also passes unanimously. Okay, so we will now move to item 11, which is the mayor's report, 11.1. We have our mayor, Pro Tem, here tonight.
I'm honored to be here for Mayor Iyer. I will warn you, though, I don't have his sense of humor, and I don't have his booming voice. He has like a radio voice, and I don't have that. So I'm warning you right now, but I'll give it my best shot here. A few things that we need to talk about. In our finance department, the independent auditors are here and have begun their work for the annual audit. So they'll be in and out of the office for a few weeks, so that's underway. The Wi-Fi installation at Murray Park is close to being completed. The last component of that was the amphitheater. We had to have that finalized and finished before we completed that project. So we'll have Wi-Fi in the entire park very shortly once that's completed and the work is underway. Last night there was the annual health and safety fair in Murray Park. There was a great turnout, even with it being the first day of Murray School classes. We had a lot of children there. Appreciation needs to be expressed to the police, fire, library, parks and recreation departments, as well as many of the outside agencies that helped with the booths, activities, and demonstrations. And it was a great evening, great success. Many of you were there. And also, finally, the library held an eclipse viewing party. If you haven't heard, there was an eclipse that occurred yesterday. And the staff was planning on around 200 participants, but just like all the other activities at the library, the crowd was double that, and participants were great, shared the eclipse glasses, and everyone had a great time. So that's the mayor's report tonight.
Thank you, Tim. Any questions of Mr. Tingy? I heard there was an eclipse today too, but it was the clouds that. Okay, we are at the end of our agenda, and so this meeting is adjourned.